We're back. Wilkinson here. Today, my guest is Ronny Borrelli. We met how many years ago? Good Lord, a long time.
Oh God. I don't know.
5 or 6, probably.
I think so.
We met at a photo shoot, didn't we? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
cool. Anyway, you're my guest, and it's our first official one. I had my friend James to break in the video stuff, but you're my first real guest. So you're a virgin, honey. Oh, how cute. How cute. All right. So you live in Cat City, Cathedral City,
Cathedral
nearby, and you're at my home. And I've set up 2 different rooms for our podcast so I can record. And that obviously works well when somebody's out of country or something like that. We'll be doing some of those. But
Yeah.
anyway, welcome. I'm glad to have you here finally. I had
Happy to be
surgery 2 days ago, and it was a little touch and go, but I'm okay. I'm just bleeding all over the floor. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Anyway, welcome. Let's hear a little bit about you. So you're gay. Hello. Most of my guests are. Tell me a little about yourself. Where'd you grow up? When did you come out? That kind of thing.
Born in California, grew up in Lake Havasu, Arizona. I came out when I was about 17.
Okay.
I came out to my stepmom first because I knew she would be the one to be all like, yeah, and
Right.
She was. My dad, I came out second, and then my mom and my stepdad were next. I came out to my dad. He was the one that I was the most nervous about because I knew he, like, very machismo man's man, you know, ex-military, ex-rodeo cowboy, Republican politician. But when I did come out to him, my stepmom told me what the best conditions were to be, like when would be a really good time to do that. And it was right before he goes out on his motorcycle because he loves motorcycles. I don't have daddy issues because those are all the things that I think are sexy in a man, minus the Republican politician.
Right, gotcha. Right.
Right before he goes out on his motorcycle because that allows him to think and mull things over and just sort of chill.
Right.
But he surprised me when I came out to him. He said, "Ronny, you're my son. I love you, and that's never going to change. Just don't make out with your boyfriends in front of me." I'm like, deal.
Did he actually say that?
Yes.
Wow.
It's like, I don't want you bringing boys home and making out with them in front of me. I'm like, well, first of all, why would I do that? I don't really feel comfortable. I wouldn't have wanted to make out with anybody in front of my father. Like, that's just a silly thing to think. Meanwhile, different situation with my straight brothers, but again, never really made out with them in front of my dad, but like public displays of affection are a bit of a different standard for him when it comes to my straight brothers. My mom, when I came out to her, not my stepmom, my mom, was also very nervous because they're very much a Christian household. But I knew my mom would be accepting. And she was very much so, very accepting, very loving. She's like, of course, I love you. That's never going to change either.
Did she have a hint that you were gay?
Yeah, they kind of knew. My stepmom has the gaydar of 10 gay men plus 2. So she says she knew. Right. And she was very much like, once all of my parents were like on getting along terms after the divorce and so on, kind of mom and my stepmom would, chat whenever there was a drop off because they had joint custody. Mom would be like, probably is. My mom would think, yeah, probably. So
did you go back and forth between your parents' places? Did you go back and forth between your parents' places?
Yes. When I was 10, my dad retired from the Marines and moved us to Lake Havasu, Arizona. So whenever it was time for me to visit my mom, stay with her, like every other holiday, every summer, there would be a trade-off, a midpoint somewhere. And usually either my dad and my stepmom would drop me off, and usually it would be my mom that picked me up.
Right.
Forth. So that was that. Kind of, if you're growing up gay, or if you're parents, if you have a gay child, do not fucking move to Lake Havasu, Arizona. Pardon my language.
It's not a gay mecca.
No. I mean, there are gay people there, of course. Duh. But it's a very isolated place. It's definitely a party town, especially during spring and summer. You got spring breakers. But growing up gay, it's very limited crowd, it's, if any. when I was growing up, there was sort of like the cliquey type, the more popular, fun people that, you know, could afford to go out on the lake and have their own house parties and stuff. But growing up in high school, as far as I know, I was like the only openly gay guy there.
Really?
Couple that, you know, we claim, well, maybe that we're not in the same grade as I am. But as far as my own graduation year goes, I don't know. Let's see.
So how did you get to Palm Springs?
Well,
what was it? Was it Lake Havasu to Palm Springs, or was there something else in the middle?
When I left Lake Havasu, finally, I moved to Temecula because that's where my dad lived before moving us to Lake Havasu.
Right.
So I had family there that I could stay with, and while I was getting on my feet and getting, you know, able to live on my own.
Right.
Because Lake Havasu is very isolated. There's not even a Greyhound in and out, you know? So it was really hard to get out until you had one of my aunts help me move out of there. And I stayed with her for a couple of years in Temecula. And when I had saved up enough to maybe move somewhere, I ended up getting an apartment with some friends of mine who were moving to Palm Springs themselves.
Okay.
That was silly because, like, when they say move to Palm Springs, they ended up getting an apartment in La Quinta. Meanwhile, I'm working at Del Taco at the time, and I was able to get a transfer to Del Taco in Palm Springs. So transportation from La Quinta to Palm Springs was kind of a long trek. And then I lived in La Quinta for a couple months until they decided that they wanted to move to Riverside, and we ended up having to break the lease, and I had to struggle to find a place to live for like less than a month.
Right.
Because I couldn't afford a 2-bedroom apartment on my own, not off minimum wage Del Taco dollars. So I ended up moving to Palm Springs itself that same year in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, 2014. And I stayed there for a couple years, kind of at first it was in this other, renting a space in this person's house. And then eventually I ended up renting a room with another friend of mine in his 2-bedroom condo. That was a really cool couple of years. Oh, no, before that it was the, first that was the space in someone's house for a couple of months, and then I ended up moving to live at Helios Resort as their live-in night gatekeeper, sort of like a situation, kind of like a night manager, only instead of getting paid to be the night manager, I got to live there rent-free, which was really cool.
Now, this is a gay resort for people that don't know it, right?
Sorry?
It's a gay resort.
It was, yes. Living in Temecula was very nice, but, you know, again, kind of a limited gay crowd. And then I would visit Palm Springs a few times with some friends, and I realized, oh my God, I love this place. This is fun.
Right.
Originally, the goal was Long Beach because I wanted to live someplace where I was surrounded by gay people, and also not desert landscape because I was sick and tired of Arizona. But I figured, at least temporarily, when Palm Springs was the move to make, you know, I figured, hey, worse places than this. This is great. Such a large gay community. I love this. Yeah, I hate the landscape, but like, I can deal with that. Plenty of pool spaces and fun stuff to do. So I'm good.
How long did you work at the gay resort?
I moved there in 2015. It was literally January 2015.
Okay.
By then I was sort of like semi-helping with their on-site play parties, because, you know, a lot of the gay resorts do that. And because I was, you know, trying to find work, and once in a while they would do that, and I got to volunteer and earn a little cash. And then the manager, who was living on site at the time, wanted to move out and get an apartment with his partner. And they offered me the space instead, and eventually work in their front desk. And I said, absolutely, you know, that's great. You know, space to myself. I get to live there rent free, and I'm making money to like save up. Heck yeah. And it's a space where, you know, lots of gay stuff going on. Very much enjoyed that. Very, very much miss that crowd. The manager and the assistant manager were semi-adopted me and sort of took me under their wing. And I still think of them as my gay parents whenever I'm talking to them. Right. I'm still in touch with them.
Cool.
Miss them a lot. Actually, I don't know if if I can name drop this, because the manager at the time, his porn name was Matt Sizemore, if anybody might recognize that name. The owners decided that it would be a good idea to have him as the manager, bring in more crowds, especially for their play parties, which he would host. And they would always have like guest appearances from other porn actors like Brian Bonds or Blue Bailey. And I think at one point, even Trenton Ducati. And that's actually how I got my start in the adult industry as well.
Oh, wait, talk about that.
Yeah, I wanted to get to that. It just like wasn't sure if I was going to open that up right away, but like later, if you want that to be a later story soon.
We're good. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Yes.
So how was that, getting into that?
Interesting, actually, because when I first applied there, they were not hiring. This was before I even moved in, because I was just looking for work.
Right.
Because I'm still new to Palm Springs. I'm trying to make money. And when I applied, they said, we're actually full, but how do you feel about doing porn? And I'm like, I never consider that, because I'm not exactly a buff person. You know, I'm still the exact same clothing size that I was in high school. I'm an extra small to like tiny skinny pants. I'm not big, and I never thought that I was particularly masculine enough to make it or do well in porn. So it was never something that I considered, but I'm like, I don't know why. You're cute. We would love to, I could introduce you to some studios and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, cool, sure, let me know. And at first, I'm volunteering with their play parties and eventually going to move in there. But that same year, 2014, October, sometimes they would film on site at the resort. And one of them was with Trenton Ducati and another actor whose name I can't remember anymore, but we were associated through Matt, and we had been acquaintances at the time. And one day, while I was still living in La Quinta at the time, we were just on the phone talking, and he was telling me why he had backed out of a scene that he was supposed to be filming with Trenton on site at the time. And I'm thinking, and I had just gotten off the phone with him, and I'm thinking, gosh, how cool would it be if I could take his place and do that instead? Thinking that's probably not going to happen. And lo and behold, I hadn't even finished the thought when Matt is calling me asking me to do it, if I would like to. Because when the guy had backed out, not Trenton, someone else, the bottom had backed out, it put him in a difficult situation, because it's like, now I have a week to find someone else to replace this guy.
Right.
Who do I go to? And the assistant manager was just like, call Ronnie. You know he'll do it. He'll do it in a heartbeat. Not even ask for anything in exchange. He'll do it. And I'm like, and he said, okay. And he called me, and I had just finished thinking that, and I'm like, he's asking me, and I'm like, am I a witch? Did I just conjure that? Yes. Okay. Sure. I'm down. So I get there. I cleaned out. I'm prepared. Probably a little too much. I was still a baby gay, still learning how to do all this at the time. But first time Trenton saw me, and the first time I actually saw Trenton in person, he's like, oh, he's cute. And I'm like,
thank you.
Stop it. And they like to joke. I don't know if this is true, but actually I'm going to get to that at the end. So we start doing it. We're filing out the paperwork, and they're asking me what my screen name would be for the sake of identity. And I thought, oh God, I don't know. How does that work? How do you come up with your name? And people would say, oh, what's the name of your first pet and the street you grew up on? And I'm thinking, oh, Sandy Silversmith, because that was the street name that we lived on in Arizona. And that didn't quite feel right exactly. And Matt was the one that came up with Caruso, because something anybody that knows me knows that I love to sing, whether I'm good at it or not. And he was reminded of this Italian opera singer who I think was or wasn't gay. I don't know. And he said, Caruso, because you're Italian, you love to sing, makes sense. And I'm like, okay, but what's the first name? Robbie, because it sounds like Ronnie. And I'm like, okay, sure. Maybe people will actually spell it correctly from now on, because whenever I tell people my name, they think they spell it Ronnie.
IE, right?
Which is not how I spell it. I spell it with a
Y. Is that on your birth certificate? Like
no.
RON? It's Ronald?
It's actually Ronald.
Right, okay.
But I go by Ronnie.
Robbie Caruso is kind of a cool name, though.
It is.
Yeah.
And then funnily enough, the first week, when I tell them, they're like, Robbie with a Y. And I'm like, no, it's with an IE. But Thanks, because I do spell Ronnie, my real name with a Y. So
Right.
thank you. Or if in the leather community, we could just call me Rascal, because that's a different story from when I was living in Temecula. I forgot about
So how was it the first time when you were filmed?
not what I expected. Doing porn, I quickly learned that what looks good on camera does not feel good in real life.
What?
Positions don't always work, especially when you're using water-based lube with a condom on a dick as big as his, because it's big, and your water base tends to dry, which gets sticky, and it's not fun, especially when you're focusing on trying to just let it in, and you're in a weird angle. It wasn't as fun in practice. Did I still enjoy myself? Yes. Was I a trooper because I wanted to be called, because I wanted to be seen that I can do this?
Right.
Yes. So we did two separate situations, two separate scenes. The first one was outside in this outdoor shower that they have, where I blow Trenton, and we used a special lotion that looks like cum, because they wanted to save his actual load for the money shot for part two. And I'd never done that before, so I did not expect. They even told me it's not going to taste good. I'm like, okay, mentally thinking, okay, knowing that now, I know how to. I can pretend. I can pretend. So he makes it look like he's about to, and he into my mouth, squirts the lotion into my mouth. They were not kidding. It was not good. It was not tasty at all. They had to do a second take because my face
Because
was
you went,
so ridiculous. I'm like, you weren't kidding. So we had to do it again. I'm like, okay, I'm now really prepared. Okay, we can do this. And we did that. And then the second part, boy, 5 hours later, I'm like we finished. He's come. It's taken me forever to come, because I guess for my first time, I got a little shy.
nervous.
Because
Yeah.
usually when I'm having sex with someone, I'm focusing on getting his load. I'm getting him off.
Right.
I don't care about mine. So I was. It's neglected. It's not used to that spotlight.
Right.
And we finally finish. He's exhausted. I'm like, is that it? Can we go again? Can we do this? Because he got off. I'm like, I was fine, and I'm just like, I want more. I'm still hungry. I want more. And Matt and David, the assistant manager, still joke to this day that when they were done filming, Trenton was practically crawling out the window, asking them where the fuck they found this kid, because he was exhausted, and I'm just rearing to go again. And
Right.
I'm just like, I don't know if this is true, because I didn't hear him say that, but
Right.
cool. I wore Trenton Ducati out. I don't know if that's true or not, but I like to give myself that little pat on the back.
Right.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna stop you there. I want to tell you a little story. So a local guy here, they wanted to film some porn. So I'd never done that, and I'm always curious about everything. So I go, fine. So I let him film for like 8 days at my house. This was before COVID,
Okay.
and so I said, I'm not going to charge you. You can use. I had a nice house. You've been there. And now I'm in a condo. But anyway, I said, okay, here's the deal. I'm not going to charge you, but I get to watch if I want to, and then I can ask you questions, not while you're filming, but after you answer it, and you ask the porn stars to have Wilkinson photograph you if he wants to, right? So and I did photograph some of them. So I mean that was really interesting. So they're two guys. They're in the backyard. They're filming. It was actually pretty boring, to be honest, watching the whole thing. I mean, some of it was okay, but whatever.
Because it's not what you think when you're.
Well, the producer at the end, when he was all done, he goes, "Tell me what you thought in one word." I go, "Mechanical." So anyway, here's the story. So those the yellow corn in the cob things you stick in the corn in the cob, and you put it in the butter.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a box of those in the back of a drawer in my kitchen at the house. So I go outside, they're filming a scene, and I look on the table, and there's one of the corn on the cob thing. And I go to the guy, the director, I go, "What's my corn on the cob thing doing out here?" And he goes, "Oh, he needed it." And I go, "For what?" And so then he explained to me, which is how all this came up, what you were just talking about. So he said they take a condom, they put some fake cum in it, they make a little water balloon out of it. They tie it off, cut it off, and they have this little balloon, right? Then they poke a hole in it, hence the corn thing. And then the guy's holding it, and then when he's ready to, shoot, he squeezes it, and that it looks like the real thing, and it's not at all.
Why the fuck didn't we do that?
But anyway, it was
Wait, did
so
they fill it
funny.
with lotion or did they fill it with like actual cum?
No, it was the fake, the bottled stuff. You wouldn't like the taste of it anyway.
No.
But anyway, that was so funny. It's like, what's my corn in the cob thing doing? Anyway, it
Oh,
makes
that's
it makes it makes for a good story. And
it
like I said,
did.
I'm always curious. I like to know stuff, so I'm not going to do that again. But it was interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, so have you been in a lot of different scenes with studios, or what? What's the deal?
I've been in a few. It's rare and few and far between. I guess another thing about the industry is that a lot of the content that you see online is not consistently made on a monthly basis, at least not anymore. I don't know what it was like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but or early 2000s, depending on the studio. But there are a lot of porn actors out there that'll have like 2 scenes a year. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to make a living off of
Right.
this? Because like I can't do more than one job at a time. Okay. I'm struggling to juggle work and personal life with just one. And you're having me like, and here I am still working at Del Taco. I'm semi working
Right.
and living at Helios, and now I've got this side gig hustle that
Right.
wants me on a whim. Because that's another thing about porn.
Well, they don't make money. The performers like they used to,
No, they don't.
because we talked about that. They used to make like $3,000 to $5,000. Now they get $300 to $500.
Yeah. And I'm like, how am I supposed to make a living off of this if I'm only doing this twice a year? It's not
Right.
consistent. I got rent to pay, and I don't want to be
Right.
working at Del Taco forever.
Well, the part of the problem is OnlyFans and Just for Fans have cut out the studios, the middleman, because the
Yeah.
performers are just doing their own thing and keeping all the money.
Well, I feel because the studios aren't paying enough anymore.
Right.
It's like this is a result of this, and now it's getting in the way of the rest of us who are not techno savvy. I like to this day my Just for Fans. I'm lucky to have maybe 1 or 2 subscribers, which is rare for a lot of other people because like
Right.
they can put out the content consistently. They know what they're doing. I've heard a lot of suggestions. I've heard a lot of, this is what I do, this is how you do it. I'm like, yeah, you realize everything that you're telling me is going to go out in one ear, out the other, or at least be forgotten within
Right.
an hour of this because, like, I'm going to need a daily teacher to walk my hand through this pretty much majority of my life in order to make a profit off of this. Also, I'm not like because I'm not good with technology. I'm lucky that all I have is my phone. I don't have the storage nor the patience nor the
Right.
drive nor the hustle to record myself every single day and post it because people will get tired. You would think people would get tired of watching the same person jerk off on a daily basis.
Right. Well, some guys, I don't know his name, but there's somebody in Palm Springs. He's in his 50s that does the stuff every day. He makes like 20 grand a month.
Is he saying,
Multiple people. Yeah. No, come on.
does he need a
But
boy toy? I'll be a boy toy. He can
There you
record
go,
me,
there
and
you
we'll
go.
both make profits off of that
There
on
you
a
go.
daily basis.
But I've told my friends on those sites, I call it, you have to feed the hungry lion, because your
Exactly.
audience, they want news, they're paying and they want to see stuff.
Yeah.
So
And a lot of people want different stuff. And, when you're working a consistent day job, you don't have time for that. That was
Right.
another reason why I'm still struggling. Because it's like,
right.
I got other shit to do. I got other
Well,
stuff.
let's talk about that. So you did the porn, but there's another thing that's your love. What is that? And I've seen you on this doing it lately a couple times. What is it?
Yes. So recently, I've gotten back into performing. When I was living in Lake Havasu, graduating high school, I realized that I loved performing. I loved being on stage. I loved singing, dancing, acting. I'm an artist at heart. I want to make, sing,
Right.
act, art.
Right.
And, fresh out of high school, there was a community theater in Lake Havasu that would put on performances, but that wasn't a paid thing. It was only one.
Right.
They paid their actors.
Were you in stuff there though? On
Yes, I was
stage?
in about 6 different performances. My first one was, I want to say, Jekyll and Hyde the musical.
Okay.
That was fun. Then there was South Pacific. I was in Peter Pan, The Wizard of Oz. That's my favorite book, movie, movie. Yeah, all
Wow.
three. That one's my favorite because I love that. So I very much enjoyed that. That was the closest that I had to a full role because I was cast as Hunk, the farmhand, as well as one of the members of the citizens of the Emerald City. When Dorothy goes to Oz, they have a separate actor for the Scarecrow because of all the makeup. Can't remove all of that within a quick scene change. So
Right.
3 separate actors. I enjoyed that. Let's see, what else? Peter Pan, South Pacific, Jekyll and Hyde the musical, Little Shop of Horrors. Oh, I know that there's another one. I can't
That's
remember
fine.
right now.
What was your first one in Palm Springs? People don't realize what an active theater community we have in Palm Springs. There's a lot going
Yeah.
on here.
I didn't know that either. For the last 15 years since moving out of Lake Havasu, I had all but forgotten and or given up on my dream. And
Right.
I was working at the casino last year, and when I lost my job over there. I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to talk about it. It was kind of in a stunt, but I realized I spent 15 years of my life living for practicality and a paycheck, and I still can't even afford my own apartment,
Right.
minimum wage. And then someone told me that CV Repertory was, holding auditions for most of the theaters out here, and they pay their actors. I was like, what?
Sign me up.
Why didn't anyone tell me this?
Right.
Sooner? 10 years of my life, I could have started doing this again. So I auditioned and I got 2 callbacks. The first one was with the Bent Theater. They wanted me to read through a script for Fucking Men. And then there was a week
and I was working there at the time.
Yes.
I was stage manager and I saw that.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I was so excited about that.
Yeah.
And then a week after the callback, I got a call from the Palm Canyon Theater because they wanted someone to play Harvey Johnson in Bye Bye Birdie.
Okay.
So I got a call back for that, and that one was my very first performance. That was not a paid performance. That was basically a community theater. They didn't know that I was looking to get paid because I'm not equity yet. So
Right.
Someday. So I still took that because I need the experience and I needed to make sure that I could still do this. So that was basically like me dipping my toe back in the waters, make sure that I could still swim, and I could. And while we're rehearsing, while we're training and everything, I quickly regained that love for theater again. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot this. I forgot that I loved this. I felt like I was regaining a love for life again. I really did. And
stop right there for a minute. That's an interesting thing you're saying. I forgot that I loved this. How did you get to that spot?
How did I forget that I loved
it? How did you forget that you love something? Did life just take over or what?
Yeah. Like I said, 15 years living for practicality and a paycheck, working minimum wage, customer service, retail, restaurant, just, every day. And, on one hand, that's part of being an adult, but you quickly realize that you're spending most of your time working to live, but you're not actually living. You're making a living, you're earning a living, you're making money so that you can have a place to sleep, but it's not enough. You need fulfillment. And I didn't have time. I was working too much, working 5-6 days a week, 40 hours a week, and my days off are when nothing is happening and I'm getting invited to stuff, but I can't go because I have to work. So I was so busy with that I forgot this is a part of something that was part of something that I wanted in my life, that I wanted to do with my life. And I forgot about that. And then I saw an opportunity, and I still don't have consistent work. I still don't have consistent income, and I'm still looking, but in the meantime, I'm also focusing on performing again, because doing Bye Bye Birdie, it was like rekindling my love. The fire just was restarted.
So were you in Bye Bye Birdie before the Bent production?
Yes. I got the call back for Fucking Men first.
Right. But you actually did the production.
But
okay.
I got to perform in Bye Bye Birdie first because that was in July. And then Fucking Men was performed in October. And we started rehearsing August.
Right. That's about right.
Yeah.
And then you were in another one with Revolution, right?
Yes.
Which I can never remember the name of, so I'll let you do that.
That's okay. Oh God, how did I get the role? Yeah, I heard that they were putting on a show or that they were auditioning. Someone contacted me for an audition, and I go to Revolution Stage Company in December for an audition, and I didn't think that I got the part because like I hadn't heard from them in like
Right.
weeks. But they called me back, and the director one asked if I was still interested in the role for Vanya, Sonia, Masha, and Spike.
And you
I
were
was
Spike.
They wanted me to be Spike. And I'm like, are you sure? You can hear the ruby slippers coming out of my mouth. There's no way that I can actually pull off a straight dude.
Right.
And I'm definitely not ripped because you want me to be able to take off my shirt. I can do that. I will do that. I'm absolutely comfortable with that. I've done.
Well, you were in tidy whities in that one, right?
Yes.
And then fucking men, you were buck naked.
Oh
on
yeah.
Stage.
Oh yeah. For the final scene, we wanted to make it artistic and classy. We couldn't have me just 100% naked the entire time. We couldn't. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not shy to taking off my clothes, but if you want someone hotter, I'm pretty sure I know maybe one or two person with at least a deeper voice that can pull off straight. And they're like, no, you're fine. We don't need that. We just need someone that actually wants to do it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, it's paid, right? And they're like, yeah. So I start doing that, and it's fun. I was having fun. I was having a blast. And also learning that I can, in fact, deepen my voice a little bit. It's hard because I still have that gay tinny bit. Right. But the first week that the weekend beforehand, I got sick with, I guess, just a head cold or like something. Valentine's Day, I think it was. And I woke up just absolutely baritone.
Wow.
I was enjoying it. I love it when that happens because I'm like, I sound masculine and I love it. I even like recorded myself saying something sexy in Italian, and I messaged my friend. I'm like, how does that sound? He's like, honestly, dude, stay sick. Right. And I'm like, I know, right? So it worked. Right. But then, it healed up the night or the day of opening night. And I'm like, okay, well, now I really have to struggle to keep this voice deep so that I can pull off straight. And I don't know how I did it. I'm not even sure if I can recreate it right now, but I was enjoying myself.
Yeah, it was fun. I saw it.
It was. And next,
you have a new one coming up too at the Bend, right?
I do, and
that's going to be that's a biggie. That's a biggie.
Yes, it's a two-parter.
Right.
Because the play itself is like 7 hours.
Right. It's called The Inheritance for those listening.
Yes,
it's a
The Inheritance. It is about a group of gay men living in New York, and it takes place in 2016, and it is about how do I put this? How they are dealing with changing times, because this is taking place during the first Trump inauguration, and how they are affected by this whilst still dealing with the after effects of the AIDS epidemic 3 generations later, and what it means, or how that feels, or I guess what that means for them as young gay men who did not live through that, but are starting to be a little scared, and in this current time, this definitely feels relevant. When I came to audition for the script, they had me read from it. I was told to prepare like a monologue or something, and I am very proud of the one that I picked, but I never even got to do it, which is fine. But because they had me read from the script, and by the time I was done reading from it, I was in tears. Wow. Thinking about it, I still am, because that particular scene, I don't know how we're going to get through it without me doing this. Oh my God. It's not even like really big, a lot of talking. It's just a lot of us different characters listing off the names of friends of ours and how they are after the AIDS epidemic. And it was a lot of the characters are just talking to this one person, and he's like, name a friend of yours. Here's what it was like for us. Name a friend of yours. Okay, David. David is now dead. Name another. Adam. Adam is now dead too. Peter. Jose. Listing all of these names, and he's like, dead, dead, dead. Infected. Doing fine. Dead. Moved away. Infected but doesn't know it. And just it continues for like 2.5 to 3 pages of that. And the more you read it, the more emotional I got. Or the more I read it, the more emotional I
Right.
got. And I knew while I'm still reading this script, I'm like, I have to be part of this. I have to be part of this. I don't care what the role is. I have to be in this. This is very important
Right.
for right now.
And a lot of actors felt that. A
And
lot
it's
of
going to
guys
be
wanted to
very
be in that.
triggering for those
Yeah.
that live through that.
Right.
And what makes me so passionate about it is that there are still young gay men, young LGBT people of all kinds that don't know what it was like.
Mm.
I don't know personally, but when I was living in Arizona, realizing this about myself, I was starved for knowledge of what it was like. I was starved for, there were not a lot of other gay guys to talk to. I didn't know a lot of people. I didn't know anyone.
Mm.
And I turned, bookworm that I am, fun fact,
Right.
I turned to the library and I tried doing my best looking up as many references or stories that I could. Thankfully, the public library, even in Lake Havasu, even in a small secluded town as Lake Havasu, had information, not just online,
Right.
but actual books. One of my
Right.
favorites was Michael Thomas Ford, which one of my favorite books that he wrote was called Full Circle, and it involves a group of 3 young men growing up, realizing that they're gay in the 70s, and then living in San Francisco as best friends, and then dealing with the AIDS epidemic towards like the third half of the book, or the third of the book,
Right.
and where they are now, and how that story comes full circle. It's been a long time since I read it, but like that was one of the stories that stuck with me.
Right.
And it's what triggered like my drive to learn more and more and read more and more. So like I knew I was able to learn this secondhand, but I'd never lived through it, thank goodness. And I'm terrified of what's going to happen in the future. That's why this play is very important to me.
Right.
Because I don't know what I want. I know that I want to be part of this. I mean, I still feel like I need to pay my dues to a community that I'm part of, but due to, circumstances and other things, I have not been active in enough. And I don't mean just like going to house parties.
Right.
I want to protest. I want to fight. And I want to inspire other people.
Mm.
I guess that's one of the reasons why I like performing too, because you have an art form that can inspire.
Right.
Dangerous though that is, which is one of the reasons why, it's easy to belittle by people in power. What?
Well, I came out late in life, and when that was all happening, the AIDS thing, I was married to a woman. I was in ministry in a church, 3 kids. But in our church, I had probably 6 friends that died, and it just tore me up. The other thing that I totally realized, and it's absolutely true. You don't know me that well. You kind of know me, but I do everything like 120%, right? So if I would have been gay when I was in New York, I would be dead right now. I mean, I know that for a fact, so by me coming out later in life, it basically spared me. And hopefully I'm doing some good now with this kind of thing. So, but anyway, we're getting to be out of time, but I always ask my guests, what have you learned in your life that you live by right now? What's really important to you?
What have I learned? That is a very good question that I have not prepared an answer for.
So we're going to have to do part 2, I guess, huh?
We might have to. I've definitely learned that it is important to stand up. I've learned that the loneliness you feel when you're first starting out as a young gay man in a town where there's not a lot of you.
Right.
It does in fact get better. I remember the It Gets Better movement. And I also remember thinking, I don't want it to get better. I want it to be better like right now. I was impatient. And I'm still impatient. I don't want it to get better. I want it to be better like last year.
Right.
But it does. And it's definitely important to fight for what is right and for those that you love. And it's important to remember that just because things are one way now doesn't mean that they're not going to change.
Right.
Change is scary. But it can be a good thing. And also put yourself out there. Growing up in Lake Havasu wasn't awful. I have a lot of friends that I miss terribly. I made a lot of friends. A lot of them were straight. A lot of them, when I first got to be drinking age, I would go to the one of my favorite bars, and I would run into a lot of drunken straight dudes that, you know, the second they realize you're gay, you get a 50-50% chance. Are they gonna like get aggressive and you know, offensive with me, or are they gonna be that drunken straight dude that's all like, I would absolutely beat a homophobe up for you. I'm like, oh, thank you. I will absolutely add you to that army. I would love to put myself in the position of like fairy godfather, you know? It's like,
Now, I thought you were going to say, after they have 6 drinks, I want to get naked.
well, that can also happen sometimes too. I will admit that I've got a couple
Right.
straight fun buddies that actually one of them was one of my favorites, and he learned that he is in fact, because when I first met him he's like, I'm straight, I just like guys on the side. I'm like, isn't that like a section, like a bit on the bisexual spectrum, like, and he started to finally identify that he was in fact bisexual. Is he out of the closet?
Right.
Not in Palm Springs, not in Lake Havasu, not in Lake
Right.
Havasu, he can't.
Well, maybe
He's still
someday.
there. But you know, it happens. You can have a
Exactly.
little fun. I did get a boyfriend or two over there, but that's a different story for
Right.
another time.
Okay.
Um,
Well, what we're going to do is, I just thought of this, is we're going to make a date. And after the inheritance, we're going to have you back on and talk about what that was like.
yes,
Is that a
I'm
deal?
very much excited to share that.
All right. Thanks for being on today. We will be
Thank you so
back.
much. Thank you for having me.
Okay.